You're tuned in to The Deep Dive, and today we're really getting into something fundamental for any business: pricing strategies.
That's right. We've looked at a bunch of material sources that explore how companies figure out, what to charge.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to pull out the core concepts
Mhm.
from these sources. We want to explore the different ways companies do it.
And help you, the listener, get a real handle on the key things businesses have to think about when they set prices. It's more than just picking a number.
Absolutely. So let's start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, what is price?
Well, the basic definition our sources give is, the amount of money charged for a product or service. Simple enough on the surface.
But it feels like there's more to it than just cash changing hands, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It really represents the sum of all the values that customers give up exchange, really to get the benefits of having or using that product or service.
From the customer's point of view, price is what they sacrifice. Like money, sure, but maybe also time finding it or the hassle involved.
Precisely. It could be time, effort, inconvenience. All of that adds up in their mind to the cost of getting the value they want.
Okay, so effective pricing has to consider how customers perceive that value.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It's absolutely central. If that perception isn't there, the price won't stick.
Right. Now, our sources talk about three main ways companies approach this, three major pricing strategies. Can you maybe outline those for us?
Sure. The big three are customer value-based pricing, cost-based pricing, and competition-based pricing. Each one looks at the pricing problem from a pretty different angle.
Okay, let's tackle that first one. Customer value-based pricing. The name kind of gives it away, but what's the core idea?
Yeah, with this one, the price isn't primarily driven by the seller's costs. Instead, it's set based on the buyer's perception of value. It all comes back to what the customer thinks it's worth.
And our sources mentioned a couple of different flavors of this: good value pricing and value-added pricing.
That's right. There are two common approaches under that value umbrella.
So what's good value pricing about?
Good value pricing is focused on offering just the right combination of quality and good service, but at a price that feels fair, reasonable.
Like an everyday low price strategy. Maybe like Walmart.
Exactly like Walmart. That's a classic example. They aim for that balance. Decent quality, decent service, consistently fair price. It's about giving the customer a solid deal.
Got it. So finding that balance point. What about the other one? Value-added pricing. How's that different?
Value added takes a different tack. Instead of just focusing on a fair price, companies using this strategy attach extra features, better services, things that differentiate their offer.
Ah, so they add things to boost the perceived value.
Precisely. And by boosting that perceived value, they can justify charging a higher price. Think about, say, movie theaters.
Okay.
Some just show the movie, others charge more, would offer luxury seating, better food options, maybe waiter service. They've added value to support that higher ticket price.
That makes sense. One focuses on fair price for the value. The other adds value to justify a higher price. What are the challenges with using this customer value approach? Seems like guessing what people value could be hard.
That's a really good point. It is hard. Measuring perceived value accurately is, frankly, quite difficult. What's valuable to one person might mean nothing to another.
So you have to really know your customer.
Deeply. Companies need to invest in understanding their target market, what really matters to them, what drives their choices. Without that, you're just guessing at perceived value. I remember one situation where a company added this feature they were sure was a winner,
Yeah.
launched it, charged a premium, and then found out most customers just didn't care that much about it. It's a constant learning curve.
Wow, yeah, that highlights the risk. Okay, so that's the customer angle. Let's pivot to the second major strategy: cost-based pricing. This sounds more internal, maybe more straightforward.
It is generally more inward-looking, yes. Cost-based pricing sets the price based primarily on the costs involved in producing, distributing, and selling the product.
Right, so you figure out what it costs you and then add something on top for profit.
Essentially, yes. Plus, a fair rate of return for the company's effort and risk. To get it right, though, you need to understand your costs.
Okay, what kinds of costs are we talking about?
Well, you've got your fixed costs, often come in overhead. These are costs like rent, heating, interest payments, executive salaries, things that generally don't change much no matter how much you produce or sell, at least in the short term.
Right, they're sort of constant.
Then you have variable costs. These change directly with the level of production. Think raw materials, packaging, the direct labor involved in making each item. Produce more, these costs go up. Produce less, they go down.
Okay, fixed and variable. And total costs are just both added together.
Exactly. Total costs, fixed costs, plus variable costs for any given level of production.
Got it. Now, the sources mentioned something called cost-plus pricing or markup pricing. How does that work within this cost-based idea?
Cost plus is a very common, straightforward cost-based method. You calculate your total cost for a product or service, and then you add a standard markup, a certain percentage, to get the selling price.
Like a standard profit margin you add on.
Pretty much. The source used a construction example, right? A job costs, say, $300,000. If the contractor wants a 20% markup on costs,
They add 20% of $300,000, which is $60,000.
exactly. So they'd price the job at $360,000. That $60,000 is the markup.
And that markup percentage, it could be based on the cost, like in the example, or sometimes maybe based on the final selling price itself.
Yes, it can be calculated either way. Businesses need to be clear which method they're using as it gives different results. Now, cost plus is simple, but what's a potential big downside?
Well, it seems totally focused on your costs. It
Yeah.
doesn't really look at whether customers actually value the thing at that price or what competitors might be charging for something similar.
That's the key limitation. It largely ignores customer demand and competitor prices. You might set a price that covers your costs and desired profit, but if it's way out of line with the market,
Yeah, you might not sell anything. Or maybe you could have charged more.
exactly, you risk overpricing or underpricing relative to the market reality.
Which brings us quite nicely, actually, to the third big strategy,
Yeah.
competition-based pricing. So this one looks outward.
It does. This strategy involves setting prices largely based on what competitors are doing, their strategies, their costs, as far as you can estimate them, their prices, and their market offerings.
Because buyers often compare prices, right?
Constantly. Consumers often judge the value of your product by comparing it to similar ones from competitors. So your competitor's pricing puts pressure on yours.
So if you're in a market with lots of similar products, you kind of have to stay in the same ballpark price-wise.
To a large extent, yes. Or you need a very clear reason why you're different. A company might price lower than competitors to try and grab market share.
Or maybe price higher.
Right. If they believe their product offers more value, maybe better features, stronger brand, better service, they might price above the competition to signal that superior quality or value.
Ah.
Think about like generic versus brand name medications.
Yeah. Often the same active stuff, but the brand name costs more because of trust, reputation, perceived value again, really.
Exactly. It circles back.
Okay, so those are the big three frameworks.
Yeah.
Customer value, cost, competition. But as you said, it's not usually just one of these in isolation, is it? Our sources mentioned other factors come into play.
Definitely not in isolation. Pricing decisions are complex. There are other internal factors within the company and external factors out in the market that heavily influence the final price.
Okay, let's stick with the internal stuff first. What else inside the company affects pricing, besides just the basic strategy choice?
Well, a huge one is the company's overall marketing strategy and objectives. What is the company trying to achieve? Maximize profit now, build market share, survive a tough period, become a luxury leader. The price has to align with those goals.
And fit with the rest of the marketing mix too, right? Like product, promotion, distribution.
Absolutely critical. Price needs to be consistent with the product's design and quality, where it's sold, and how it's promoted. You can't charge a premium price for a low-quality product sold in bargain bins with no advertising. It just doesn't work. Everything needs to send the same message about value.
Right, consistency is key. What else internally?
Another internal factor is simply who gets to set the price. Organizational considerations. In small companies, maybe the owner decides. In big corporations,
Could be a whole department or product managers.
exactly. It might be pricing departments, brand managers, even sales managers have input sometimes. How that decision is made and by whom can shape the outcome.
Interesting. Okay, so strategy, objectives, marketing mix, and who decides. Now let's look outside the company. What external forces shape pricing?
Several big ones. Probably the most fundamental is the nature of the market itself and specifically demand. How much are people willing to buy at different prices?
That's the classic supply and demand idea, the demand curve.
That's the one. Typically, the relationship is inverse. As price goes up, demand tends to go down and vice versa. Understanding that relationship for your specific product is crucial.
And connected to that is price elasticity, how sensitive demand is to price changes.
Precisely. Price elasticity of demand. If demand is elastic, a small change in price causes a relatively large change in the quantity demanded. Think non-essential items or things with lots of substitutes.
So if you raise the price just a little, demand drops off significantly.
Right. But if demand is inelastic, changes in price have a much smaller effect on the quantity demanded. Things like gasoline, essential medicines, or products with fierce brand loyalty often have inelastic demand.
People will buy roughly the same amount even if the price wiggles a bit.
Yeah. Factors like how necessary the product is, whether there are good substitutes available, and what portion of the buyer's budget it takes up, these all influence elasticity.
So lots of competitors selling similar stuff usually means more elastic demand. You have to be careful with price hikes.
Generally, yes, definitely.
Uh.
Another major external factor is the overall economy.
Like recessions or booms.
Exactly. Economic conditions, inflation, unemployment rates, consumer confidence, they all impact how much people have to spend and how they feel about value versus price.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
People tighten their belts in a downturn.
For sure. And then there are other external things too. Resellers, like retailers who need their own margin, government regulations, maybe price controls or taxes, and even broader social concerns can sometimes influence pricing.
Wow, okay. It really is a balancing act, isn't it? Weighing your costs, what customers might pay, what rivals charge, the economy, lots to juggle.
It absolutely is.
Let's circle back to that price demand thing for a second. You mentioned the demand curve. Can you maybe paint a clearer picture of that?
Sure. Imagine a graph, prices on the vertical axis going up, quantity demanded is on the horizontal axis going right. The demand curve usually slopes downwards from the top left to the bottom right. That slope visually shows that as the price gets higher, moving up the vertical axis, the quantity people want to buy gets lower, moving left along the horizontal axis.
And elasticity, then, is about how steep that slope is.
Basically, yeah. A steep downward slope suggests inelastic demand. Even a big price change doesn't shift quantity demanded all that much. A flatter slope suggests elastic demand. A small price change can cause a big swing in how much people buy.
Got it. And things like substitutes and necessity affect that steepness.
Yeah.
Like, salt is probably pretty inelastic, right?
Yeah.
But maybe different brands of soda are more elastic because you can just switch.
That's a perfect way to think about it. Exactly right.
Okay, that clarifies things. Now, we talked about cost-based pricing earlier, but the sources went into a bit more detail on tools like break-even analysis and target profit pricing. These sound like practical ways to apply that cost focus.
They're very practical, especially for planning and understanding the financial implications of pricing. Break-even analysis helps you figure out the minimum sales volume you need either in units or dollars just to cover all your costs.
So the point where you're not making money but not losing it either.
Exactly. No profit, no loss. The formula they often use for break-even volume in units is your total fixed cost divided by your price per unit minus your variable cost per unit.
Okay, fixed cost divided by price variable cost. That bit on the bottom, price minus variable cost, that's like how much each sale contributes towards covering the fixed costs.
Precisely. It's often called the unit contribution margin. So the source example was fixed costs of $30,000, variable cost of $20 per unit, and a selling price of $30 per unit.
Right, so $30,000 divided by $30, that's $30,000 divided by $10, which is 3,000 units.
Correct. They need to sell 3,000 units just to break even. Every unit sold after that starts contributing to profit.
Okay, that's useful for knowing your baseline. What about target profit pricing? That sounds like aiming higher.
It is. It builds on break even. Here, you set a price specifically to achieve a certain profit goal. You're not just covering costs, you're factoring in a desired profit level.
How does that calculation work?
The formula often presented for the target return price involves adding your desired profit to your fixed costs and then dividing by your expected unit sales. So it's total fixed costs plus target profit, unit sales.
Okay, so using that same example, $30,000 fixed costs, $20 variable cost per unit, aiming for $20,000 profit and expecting to sell 3,000 units. So $30,000 plus $20,000 divided by 3,000 units.
Yeah.
That's $50,000, $3,000, which is about $16.67. But wait, that can't be the selling price, can it? That's less than the variable cost.
You caught the common confusion there. Excellent point. That $16.67 represents the amount per unit needed to cover the fixed costs and achieve the target profit over those 3,000 units. It's the required contribution on top of the variable cost.
Okay, so how do you get the actual selling price?
You have to add the variable cost back in. So it's that $16.67 to cover fixed costs and target profit per unit, plus the $20 variable cost per unit.
Which gives $36.67. Oh, okay. That makes sense now. You need $36.67 per unit to cover the $20 it costs to make each one and contribute that $16.67 towards fixed costs and the desired profit, assuming you sell 3,000 units.
Exactly. It's a crucial step to remember add back the variable cost. These tools help understand the cost implications and targets.
Definitely. Okay, so break even tells you the floor. Target profit helps you aim for a specific financial goal based on cost and volume. Now, to make this all less abstract, our sources gave some real-world examples. Trader Joe's came up. They had that sort of cheap gourmet reputation, right? How do they manage that?
Yeah, Trader Joe's is fascinating. They've carved out a really unique niche. They offer products that feel high quality, often unique or imported, maybe a bit gourmet.
But the prices seem pretty reasonable, usually.
Right, and they pull this off through a few key things. One huge factor is their heavy reliance on private label brands,
Hmm.
Trader Joe's branded stuff.
So they cut out the middleman brand costs.
Largely, yes. They develop their own products, work directly with suppliers, and avoid the marketing overhead of big national brands. This lets them offer interesting, good quality stuff at lower prices.
What else? Their stores seem pretty simple.
That's another part. Relatively small stores, efficient operations, fewer products overall, fewer SKUs than a giant supermarket, simpler displays. It all keeps their overhead low. Limited advertising, too. It creates this vibe of discovery and value.
Yeah, it feels like you're getting a deal on something interesting. It's a smart mix of value perception and cost control. Now let's flip to the other end, Bose. They're known for being premium, often pricey, audio gear. What's their strategy?
Bose is almost the opposite approach in some ways. They've built a powerful brand based on, high quality sound, innovative audio tech, sleek design.
Did they charge for it?
They do. Their pricing strategy is clearly premium. They command higher prices based on that perceived value, the superior sound, the tech, the brand reputation itself.
So they're heavily invested in R&D and marketing that quality message.
Absolutely. They invest a lot in developing unique technologies, and their marketing consistently hammers home the high-fidelity experience, the quality, the design. Customers who prioritize that and maybe the status of the brand are often willing to pay that premium.
So Trader Joe's nails the good value, perceived quality at a fair price, while Bose owns that value-added space premium features and brand justifying a high price. Really shows how different value strategies can work.
It really does, and it highlights just how crucial it is to know your customer, what they value, and how you stack up against competitors in delivering that value.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered a fair bit on pricing. We started with defining price, not just money, but value exchanged.
Right, and the importance of customer perception. Then we dug into the three main strategies: value-based, cost-based, and competition-based with their variations.
We also looked at all those other factors, internal like strategy and organization, and external like the market, demand, elasticity, the economy.
And we revisited cost-based pricing with break-even and target profit calculations, remembering that crucial variable cost add-back.
Yes. And finally, looked at how companies like Trader Joe's and Bose put these different ideas into practice very effectively.
And I think a big takeaway is that setting the right price isn't just math, it's strategy. It needs that deep understanding of your costs, your customers, and your competitors.
Definitely. So a final thought for you, our listener. Thinking about everything we've discussed, the strategies, the factors, if a new product was launching into a crowded, competitive market today, how should they even begin to figure out their initial price? What information would be absolutely vital for them to get their hands on first?
That's a great question to ponder. What's the most critical piece of the puzzle when you're starting from scratch in a tough market?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.